Hello, welcome to White Davy Gardening and Worm Farm. If you like my channel, please press the subscribe button. So it's been a week since I looked after these red bins. I call them red bin because the covers are red. And at that point in time, I gave the worms in here some food. And I'm digging around to see if I find any trace of the food so that I can know whether or not I need to feed them. This apple has been in here for quite some time now. And obviously they're taking their little time with that. But since they're taking so long to finish that apple, I'm not going to give these guys any food until they have finished that. So, and the bin is moist enough, so I'm not going to give this any more moisture. Let's move on to the next red bin to see how it's doing. Okay, let's check on this guy, or these guys. I wonder what that is growing here. Oh, I don't see a seed, so I don't know what that is, but something decides to germinate. It will become food for the worms. This is very moist too. So obviously these guys, oh my goodness, I guess these guys are not in need of moisture. I guess they're almost finished their food. It's just the skin of the tomatoes that I am seeing here and the skin of the potatoes. Those potatoes that I put in here, or the potato skin that I put in here, I did not cut them up, so it's taking longer for them to process, but it's the thin portion of the potato skin that is left. So I'm going to give them just a little bit more, but this time the potato skin that I'm giving them is all cut up. Not going to give them a lot because they haven't completed the rest of the food yet, but as I won't be looking at them for another week, so I'm making sure they have a little to munch on until then. These are my experimental trays, and they're kept in the same location as my red bins. So when I'm maintaining that shelf, everything on that shelf gets maintained. So as I can see in here, these guys finish their food. So I'm just gonna give these some more food. Let's see. Obviously I've got a lot of potworms in this one. Oh my goodness, wow, it's loaded with potworms. And it only has, this bin only has a few red wigglers in there. Let's see. Oh, it's a pity I just gave the bread that was in this food basket to one of the bins that I did before, so I don't have any bread, or I would use it to try and extract these worms. So I guess I'm gonna leave that for the next week. I'm gonna have to make a note of that. Use the bread to try and get rid of those potworms. Now for these guys, I'm gonna give them a little bit of food. and they have enough moisture. Funny enough, I find that these little experimental bins that I have, they don't dry out as quickly as the others do, or the other types of bins do. Let's see how these guys are doing. This is what's left of my tomato, my bunch of tomatoes that I put in here. And this bin, you know how it is when you put tomatoes in worm bins, that it produces a lot of moisture. So this bin will not require any moisture for quite some time because it is very damp. So let's see, skin of the tomato. Yeah, so it seems that's all they have leave, just a lot of the tomato skin. So let's give these guys some food too. So they're getting melon skin. Oh, let's take this out. Melon skin, piece of cabbage, and some diced up potato skin. I've got quite a bit of these bins to go through, these red bins. I can't tell if this is a piece of plastic or if it is actually the skin from the apples that I had in here. Obviously this bin has some potworm issues too. I'm wondering about tomato, because tomatoes are a bit acidic in nature. Okay, they still haven't finished this apple yet either. Tomatoes are a bit acidic in nature, so I'm wondering if, because I've been putting a lot of tomatoes in here, if that is why I'm having so much potworms in these bins. I see these worms are quite enjoying this apple. And if the apple is there, it means that all the other food source would be here, which means that they eat everything else. Just the apple remaining, so I'm just gonna give them a small amount of food. That way they can keep on working on the apple. And like all the other bins this is that I've gone through so far, this bin is very moist. I am going to have to set up an experiment with worms being fed just their beddings and tomatoes to see what is going to happen with that bin, whether or not I'm going to end up with a lot of potworms in it, because I'd really like to know if the tomato is what is encouraging these potworm population to explode like this. Okay, so I guess it's not plastic, it is actually the skin of the apples and tomatoes, because all of these things are being found in those regions where I feed the worms apples and tomatoes. Okay, so they finished the food in here. Apart from the eggshells and a few pieces of the cardboard and paper that I have in here, I think once this bin dries out somewhat, I'll be able to harvest it. So I guess I'm not going to be watering this for quite a while so that it can dry out some more. I just can't figure out where all these stones are coming from. Oh, this bin is definitely ready for processing. I guess it's gonna take a little while to dry out because it is very moist. I still can't. Oh, more stones. I still don't see any food left in here. But I don't think I'm going to feed this bin because it has quite a bit of the bedding in here that they can work on. So with all the moisture and the bedding, I don't think they're gonna get anything else for a while. Guess I can make note of that too. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like these, please take a moment to give me a thumbs up. You can leave a comment in the section below. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and turn on your notification for more updates like these. Thank you so much for watching and have yourself a wonderful day. Yeah man, a time for grow.